And so that was like that's like the bedrock for me of what all the other things that I get to do, because they still require some of those same disciplines of hard work, of standing strong in the midst of the storm, of not giving up, of showing up every day, no matter if you feel like it or not. It's all those things that really nothing else would have mattered. All these inspirations and aspirations and goals that I had and still have, if I don't have that bedrock of just how to be tenacious and not discouraged, and sometimes motivate yourself when no one else is there to encourage you, or when you do open up and say, hey, I need help. It's all those things that really fundamentally keep me moving forward.
Oh man, that is Mr. Henry Nutt. And I got to tell you, I've talked to him for almost 2 hours, and it was a pretty darn amazing experience. I walked away feeling enthused, warmed, and motivated about what's coming up in the future. And I bet that you're going to get the same type of feeling after listening to our episode. So we talk about some pretty like deep things. And believe it or not, these thoughts and ideas were coming from a plumber and a sheet metal guy. We touch on the importance of vulnerability and self-care, like taking care of yourself and giving yourself space for healing. And then the big thing, there's this swell coming up in the construction industry anyways, about appreciating people and respect for people. I know, we say those words a bunch, but Henry and I really get into why we need to prioritize humanity in construction and how that impacts safety, decision making, profits, the whole thing. And for far too long, we have not been accounting for the human beings and the human side of things. And so being able to talk about this with Henry in preparation for the No BS with Jen and Jess live streams, it just feels like there's this continuity out there that I bet y'all can feel as well. And I'm looking forward to interacting with y'all soon. Oh, and then, the never ending struggle. Henry talks to us about his experience when he went from managing projects to managing people, which is a pretty darn significant shift for anybody that's become responsible for developing people and leading a business. We'll just say opinions. You'll get the rest of it as you listen to the rest of the show. So we want to give a shout out to our patrons, of course, because they have been faithful. We have a full year behind us. Thank you, patrons, for supporting us through 2021. It's been an amazing experience to learn and grow with you, knowing that you're behind us and supporting us with the dollars, because this stuff ain't free. It costs some money. And we're looking forward to an amazing 2022. There's a bunch of stuff in the oven right now. And L&M family, I hope that we are serving you appropriately. And thank you for continuing to listen to us. And here we go. What's going on, L&M family? Here we are with Mr. Henry Nutt. How you doing, Henry?
I am doing great, man. How are you doing?
We were kind of chatting before we kicked off here. I'm like a little starstruck being able to spend some time with you. And you're in California right now?
Yeah, Northern California.
Northern California. I've been to the LCI congresses and been able to see you up on stage and watch you in the back behind the scenes playing major roles there. And so for me to like have this time was like, man, this is so cool because Henry's got it going on. That's how I'm doing.
That's so funny you say that. And I get a lot of that from people. It's and I don't feel like I am some celebrity or anything, but I know a lot of people have said that, and I've been in this for 15 years as far as I guess being in the limelight. But it's never been about that. It's never been about the limelight. It's always been about the people and trying to do work that matters and getting better at it, and really understanding what matters to people and how you really can impact people. So I think that message resonates with people, and somehow it's giving me a platform that I didn't ask for.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, there's Henry. He's a celebrity, and I think, where is he? That guy? Talking about me? No.
That's hilarious. Well, and that's the beautiful thing, though, is you're just giving back, right? You're just serving and contributing to the community, and from there, what's the influencer, the celebrity comes with that. And we've seen it on the news and stuff where people are like just aimlessly chasing fame, and we get to see them crash and burn. And I mean, not get to see, they crash and burn, and it's painful for human beings.
Sure.
But you've been super consistent, always there, and I think it's because of you're coming from your heart, right? You wanting to serve the community and serve people. So it's like this energy that just keeps feeding into itself, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and before you know it, you're a celebrity.
I've been a firm believer of staying in your lane, in other words, kind of knowing what your gifts and talents are. And as other ones evolve or come to your recognition, you can develop those, but know what you do, know what you do well, and do that, right? And try to stay there, and that becomes kind of the mission and the heartbeat of what you do. And it doesn't feel like work, right? It feels like a part of your daily life. And so it's easy to do. You get on stage, you're not rehearsing a bunch of speeches. It's just you're talking to people because it comes from the inside. And I got a chance to look at some stuff I've done years ago when I first won the Pioneer Award for LCI, and I was looking at some videos. I was being interviewed, and the speech I get for recognizing the people that helped me along the way, and I was listening to it literally last week and thinking, wow, I talked for about 2 minutes, and it wasn't a speech that I prepared. It was just from the heart, and those were real words. That I was kind of impressed with myself, thinking like, yeah, that was pretty cool, man. That stuff you say, and didn't know 1,600 people were in the audience or whatever. It was just really just talking to people about your life and what you've done, and taking time to thank the people that helped you along the way. So it's been a great journey. Never would have thought it would have brought me in this space, and being connected to such smart, amazing people that care like me and yourself. That's really the plus part of this, is just the community that you build. That's like that part can never be taken away, and it's like a lifelong thing that you always have.
Yeah, the community thing is profound, and I cheat a little bit. I've watched some YouTube videos of how do you build a community and how do you build your social media brand, and all that kind of stuff, and
Yep.
they talk about like real mechanical transactional type things to do. I was like, man, that's kind of, I'm not cool with that. I don't like that. And then Jennifer and I and you and Adam and like Felipe, Jason, like all these people,
Mhm.
James P. Like I started kind of studying everybody. I was like, man, people are just kind of showing up and just being themselves. Spencer, Buddy, Keon, Joe. There's a gigantic list of people
Yeah.
that just show up, and they're their full selves, and it creates the community. I don't have to post 3 times a day and go back and like and comment on everybody's message to build a community. I just got to be me and find people that resonate, and that's building a community.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting that all those folks that you just named, plus others, right, we all are somewhat connected already. Like we found ourselves somehow connected because of the message, because of the passion for what we do. And it's just been easy to, I've seen Jennifer at Congress, right? And in the midst of COVID, right? It's kind of like, you see the person that you've seen online and spoke with, and then you just hug each other, right? And just like, because you feel like family, you feel like
Yeah.
you've like known each other with just, the mission behind what you're doing, or the reason for the mission. And so it's just that kindred spirit thing that you talked about. And all those folks, Joe and Adam, Jason and all these folks, all of us are somewhat connected in different areas and space in this industry. And we're linked because of our passion and our love to really transform this industry. And it's just easy, it's like
Yeah.
you're sitting with friends whenever you're around them, and it's like you're just catching up and talking about what's going on, and the movement and all that stuff, man. So it's great to have that group of people that, again, you call your community, and you throw something on LinkedIn or whatever, and it just like all these folks are just talking about it, and then because it's what we do. It's like it's our life, It's
Yes,
really cool.
yes, it's a lifestyle, right? We have a common lifestyle, and it breeds goodness. Ideally, breeds goodness into the industry and transforming. It's a rough industry. We've had some conversations about that and the impact that the job itself can have on the human psyche, on the family, on loved ones. Thank goodness it's such a big group of us, because there's a lot of work to be done to make it such that it better serves the men and women that are out there doing the work, because it ruins relationships, it ruins people's health. Like, that's me. I've lived that. So I'm sure you may have experienced some degree of that as well. So for the audience, Henry, what should the L&M family know about you?
I'm a regular guy at the end of the day. I'm like you. I'm a regular guy. I'm a dad, a family. I care about this industry so much that I do all this extra stuff on top of my day job, and somehow, as a general superintendent, I'm not anymore. But when I first began that in that role for Southland, first I've got 34 years overall in the industry as a sheet metal worker. That's my background. And coming into the role where I was going to impact people was kind of a daunting thing, because I remember sitting down with my division leader at that time, and he said the difference between what you've been doing and what you're going to do now, or what we expect you to do, is you're not managing projects anymore. You're going to manage people. And the difference between the projects and the people is I've got 500 people with 500 different opinions, and so it's about how do you get that herding cats kind of thing, make that effective. And so I think it's just one. I'm a regular guy like anyone else. I have a mission and a plan. I believe in the words that I say. I stand behind them because I've seen them. I've experienced the stuff that I talk about. But I'm no different than anyone else, and I may have a different message, well, that aligns with others, but comes from a different perspective because my background's different. I think that's the beauty of what we all do is the message is similar, but the perspective of what we bring is different, refreshing. It's kind of like this kaleidoscope of thoughts and ideas that kind of match, in its own unique way with the whole story. And it's important, each one of those stories from all of us, because each message resonates differently with someone else,
Yes.
And that's the beauty of what we do. It's like this collective going down this path and reaching the world and trying to revolutionize and transform an industry that has been hard, right? It has dismissed people, chewed them up, and spit them out, and kept going, And I've been on the victim side of that, for sure, and realizing the impact of that. So that's probably more of my perspective. Is really I stand for the person that, or the people that have been chewed up. I stand with the people that haven't had a voice. I stand with the people that really feel like this industry is not for them. And so when I tie all the lean stuff and the tools and the practical things that we can do to be better and more efficient, I bring in that kind of piece to the table with. So my message is always intertwined with that people side and that person and folks that haven't really had the voice and feel less than and not recognized or acknowledged. So I'm out for that small voice. I'm that one who looks for the one that's the sheep that's kind of went astray and ready to jump off the cliff. I'm that person that wants to message to that individual or group of people, because that was me, So that's something I would want this group to know about me. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. There's a whole lot there, and I'm gonna go digging. So
Okay.
what I heard was you want to speak for the unseen, the unheard, the discarded, that feel less than. And you also mentioned about this kaleidoscope, the view and the vision of the hope and the opportunities, this kaleidoscope of people and thoughts and ideas and diverse perspectives. which, people write stuff about it, right? They post little memes and really with real pretty looking things. Is it that easy? Is it as easy as posting a pretty meme, Henry?
Yeah, you and I both know it's not. I wish it were, or maybe no, I can't even say I wish it were, because if it's that simple, it'd be solved by last year or more. And no, it's not. And I think people mean well, but we're talking about human beings.
Mm.
We're talking about people that show up at work every day, maybe in part in their whole selves, or maybe their full selves, or with a bunch of baggage. And I've always thought about this and told people we never know what people are going through from day to day. We never know what someone brings to the table at work. And when they misperform and they let us down or they don't meet the expectation, it's really easy to discard and throw away. And that's what we've done in this industry. We don't give second chances or opportunities to try to understand. And that's what I love about Lean is that it really does focus on those things and talks about reflection and how important that is to really think about, talks about 5 whys and really analyzing why did this really happen? And for the folks and the leaders that actually really get that, I mean, to the point where that's a part of their style of work, then they're going to be better leaders and more effective and have a team that is willing to follow them and not just be a leader in title, but one that actually has people following them. And so, and influencing people because they desire and open themselves up to be influenced by someone, and so it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. And then it takes people that what you're doing will resonate and people begin to trust your words because they see the action behind your words and not just someone that is looking for fame and fortune and tell you 10 things you should do. And those 10 things may be right. They may be actually the thing you need, but if no one wants to listen to it because of you,
it don't matter.
it doesn't matter, right?
Oh, for real. Okay. And so we agree it's not easy. Would you also agree that it takes tremendous stamina and grit to continue down the path?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's up and down. It's always this influx, right? And as many people as you get who want to follow you, you're going to always have people that don't, and will have a word to go with it or a message to go with it, maybe to discourage you. So yeah, this thing is it's like it's this is the marathon of the business. It's not a quick and easy thing, and that's why being in this industry for 34 years and being on this mission specifically for over 15 is you look back and you're like, wow, but this took a lot of time. And then you look at the stories that most people don't know about how you got here. They don't know about the times you were ready to kind of like literally, figuratively jump off the bridge and say, to hell with all this, it's not worth it. And then those who really did quit, and those people who just gave up, and those folks who've been in your life. So it's not easy. This is not the mission for the light of heart. This is folks who are willing to stand, but also knowing how to pause and reflect for yourself and give yourself space to heal when you have felt broken and discarded, because that's a part of this whole thing. And when we stay in it, we learn so many lessons about ourselves and how to get stronger and know that. I think Jennifer Lacey is always talking about yourself about vulnerability and how that is a powerful characteristic to have because it opens you up to bring in others to help you and not feel like you have to be this island. And I think that's one of the messages that this industry has thrived on being proud of. It's like one person standing, it's one person, it's one man, it's one woman, it's all you need, and the survival of the fittest and all that. And that doesn't work except for a very small percentage of people, but most that doesn't work at all.
Yeah, it's not sustainable and it's definitely not healthy.
Yes, for sure.
So then, as having been at it 34 years, I'm wondering, Henry, where did you build that muscle, the endurance and the grit to continue forward, to pause and reflect, to get and accept help? How did you develop those skills?
Well, first I have to say, it came from I have a father that was in the trade, and he owned a business in the sheet metal business for about a decade. But one thing he's always shown me before I even got in the trade was just a work ethic. And
Mm.
and that wasn't through a book or a speech. It was just through a lifestyle and an example. And so he's working 2 or 3 jobs. Before he got into the trade, he had me doing work around the house, learning how to work on cars, and until I was complaining at that
Yeah.
like, leave me alone, right? I have
Mm.
3 sisters, and so I was the only one that was out there doing that kind of work, and it felt unfair. It probably was, but I had no idea, what it was preparing me for. So I think I have to start there for sure. Is that having someone that really showed me what work meant and why it was important and how it provided for your family. And so when you got into the trade, I got into the trade at like 19 years old, and I'm getting up at 4 in the morning to drive 40 miles or whatever and be on site somewhere at 7 or 6:30 in the morning. And that was just what I did, right? But I never had an issue with it. I knew I had to go to bed at a certain time to get enough sleep. And it's just all those things that were fundamental that I took for granted that everyone got that, right? But it was those types of those opportunities and examples that helped me, from my dad drilling that into me as an example of what it looks like, one, to take care of your family, to keep a job, to build a career, to build a reputation over in this industry, and all that was just handed to me essentially.
Mm.
And so that's like the bedrock for me of what all the other things that I get to do, because they still require some of those same disciplines of hard work, of standing strong in the midst of the storm, of not giving up, of showing up every day, no matter if you feel like it or not. It's all those things that really nothing else would have mattered. All these inspirations and aspirations and goals that I had and still have, if I don't have that bedrock of just how to be tenacious and not discouraged, and sometimes motivate yourself when no one else is there to encourage you, or when you do open up and say, hey, I need help. It's all those things that really fundamentally keep me moving forward. Has helped me to kind of develop something that has a foundation versus just as being passing and uncertain. This is like real stuff that I know I can lean on because it's been my life for so long.
Yeah, the simple things. Just show up. Get
Yeah.
up, get ready, get in that car, get in that truck, make the trip,
Yep.
and keep doing that.
Keep doing that.
That's
30
amazing.
years.
30 years, yeah. So looking back, the world has transformed so dramatically. And like my own personal world it seems like to be exploding. And right now, you and I are having this conversation, and you mentioned your background is in sheet metal. My background is in plumbing. And I know coming up in the trade for a long time, like the sheet metal guys were my nemesis because they were in my way, and they felt the same way about me, right? Like my storm drain needed to have slope, but their medium pressure air distribution was so big that we always had this conflict.
Right.
And so thinking about that and thinking that you and I are having this conversation now, like at what point in your career did you start like flirting with the idea that, you know what, maybe my voice is going to be out there, and I'm going to be having these types of conversations to be shared with generations to come?
It happened at Southland. So I've been in
Mm.
Southland Industries for 15 years, and again, being hired as a superintendent there. And because we have a plumbing, piping, and sheet metal department, we go in as a team typically, right? And we weren't always a team, even though we had the same hat and shirt on. And so on project sites, right? But
Yes.
but that became my mission, and I think one of the people that I always acknowledge is Jessica Kelly, who's been around, worked for Southland for over 20 years, was a PM at that time, or senior PM, and was one of the people that I worked closely with that was looking for some difference in using lean and actually really executing in a fashion that supported what we say we stand for, and as far as teamwork and all those things. So it was really more about stepping into that role and then recognizing how important my words were with saying, hey, I'm a sheet metal worker. I stand for sheet metal. However, I understand how important it is for our company to be successful requires me to bend. And so when I began to do that and realize how powerful that was and impactful it was to the project as well as to the people involved, and it was kind of like, oh, that's kind of a new dynamic message. Really, it shouldn't have been, but it was. That's when I began to kind of see that that's what people really were trying to get us to collaborate. And before we're even using the word collaboration back then, it was recognizing that telling my foreman in the field how we need to bend and what we need to do to make sure that we are successful as a company on this project, not just as a sheet metal department. And so my mission did not become about, hey, because I'm the sheet metal superintendent, it was going to be sheet metal or die. It was going to be Southland or die. And so I needed to make sure, and then it became about the project or die. So it wasn't even just about Southland, right? So it really evolved, and you begin to see how powerful that was for owners and for the general contractors, and seeing like, this is something different with this company and our people. So I had to begin to message that with our team, and that message began to resonate, and it kind of just opened doors. So it's really back then with just working on small projects and larger projects, and then really getting engaged with a team saying, you know what, here's how we can do this in a more effective way. We don't lose because we allow someone to go first. Let's understand this, and getting people to really begin to pull back those layers of what does collaboration look like. And it's not about just who gets in first. But that, even though that's what we've been trained for our
Yeah.
whole career path, right?
Oh yeah, I finished first. Oh man,
Yeah,
I knew it. Like, okay, we're running behind on the plumbing. Okay, I know how to get us some time. Release the duct,
yeah, yeah,
ship the duct, load the floor up with duct because it slowed everybody else down.
right.
Plumbers got to catch up. I mean, that was not the right thing to do. That
Yep,
didn't that didn't help anybody. I mean, it was like it felt helpful in the short term, but in the long term, it damaged relationships, it damaged material. We moved it 10 times. Like it just had all this compounding negative effect that I didn't understand. And we see it over and over. Different contractors, GCs function differently, but there's a definite difference in the teams that understand that we all cross the finish line together.
yeah,
And if we cross, when we know that and own that, it's a fun experience. We could do the damn job and like be friends afterwards.
right.
The other jobs that the teams that don't recognize that and they're trying to get across the finish line first, all you're doing is cussing and screaming and fighting and hating all the way along. And it really doesn't even have to be that painful.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
and we have a choice, right? We can choose to make it awesome,
right,
or we can choose to live in stinky.
right. Yeah, and that is, and yeah, so many have lived in Stinky for their whole career paths, and they're angry and mean spirited and short tempered bullies, and but that's been the acceptable role, especially of the leadership in our,
Oh yeah.
like, if you don't have those qualities, then you don't make it. And so it's I've always said to people, and this trigger with me years ago is again about, think about life and the time that we spend with the people that we work with and in our families. We definitely spend more time with the folks at work.
Hmm.
Doesn't it behoove us to actually kind of get along or like them a little bit? Because they become more our family than the people we sleep next to. So it's really, really important that we look at that and have that perspective when we are engaged in something we do every day for 30 years, including commuting to wherever that is. It's like all that time that we're there in that space. It should not be the secondary kind of thing on the side. It really is the primary thing in our lives, is our work and all the time we spend. So can't we do it a better way? Don't we want to do it a better way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. What do you think about this? So Jennifer and I are going to be kicking off No BS with Jen and Jess live streams in the new year. And one of the ideas there is that surfaced through these conversations is beyond the gate. And what that means is, on the job site or at work, there's this type of thinking that says, leave your problems at home when you're here, be completely focused and kind of and ignores what you just everything you just described, right? We spend more time with people at work than we do with the people we go to sleep next to. And what are we doing to honor that human being beyond the gate? Like if we're thinking about a safety perspective, I don't need you just to be safe on the job site. I need you to be you and your family to be safe and protected after hours because I need you back. Like
Right.
what are your thoughts on that? Is that too crazy?
Absolutely not. It's total alignment, and it aligns with what we're trying to accomplish. How do we how do we really do this, pull this off when we talk about building up this industry and transforming it without really looking at one individual and transforming that individual? And that looks like not just what they do at work, it looks like what they do in life. And so there's been this whole message of your home life and your professional life are should be two different things. And really, when we talk about bringing your whole self to work, well, that doesn't look like me showing up one day at work, but then being a different person at home. And my problems, my issues, whatever I had, an argument at home or something happened with my child, I don't turn that off at work, even if I'm supposed to. I may try to flip the switch, but if you really know me, you know it's all inside of me. I'm being distracted as I'm working, and so people come every day with those types of things, and we promote leave it at home, and they don't, and it's why people get injured. It's why there's not this.
Mm,
We have this high suicide rate in our industry for sure amongst men. It's along with the other physical aspects of just the dangers in our industry that people getting hurt, distractions, poor decision making, and all that ties into just the whole person. So it totally aligns with transforming the industry in a more effective way, and I think even in a more efficient way is allowing people to to be who they are and recognizing creating space for that. We talk about psychological safety now as a thing. It's really something I'm hearing more and more. And and that's an important aspect of being able to show up and articulate your ideas and thoughts with your team without feeling like you're going to get slammed for something that may sound different or crazy. So it ties into all of that. Most of us who are leaders who've done anything significant in this industry, we have taken our work home.
oh
It
yeah.
shows up right there. Sometimes in the middle of the night when we're sleeping good at 3 in the morning, oh no, we're thinking about this thing, right? Not because we want to.
It,
This is how we're wired and it's what we do. And sometimes the best ideas come then, right? So it's allowing that part. We want to tell people not to do that. Yeah, go home and think about work all day. We love it, right?
we
Well,
will celebrate that. Oh, that guy,
yeah,
she
yeah,
thinks about work all the time. She's amazing. Like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's great. I think that totally is how we get it done. It's a part of it for sure.
So I'm gonna give the L&M family out there a prequel to next year's Congress in New Orleans. I've seen there's been emails bouncing back and forth, and I think you mentioned like a theme or a message around one project, one team. Did I get that right?
You did. You did. Yeah. That's something that I'm gonna be talking about a lot more in 2022 and moving forward, because I think that's really what it's about. It's really we've done the Run project and trying to get people that come from different unions or different companies, and trying to create that one project like spirit on this team. Like one way that we get people to effectively collaborate and communicate and work as one is promoting the one project. So it doesn't matter if you work for Southland or Rosedale or whoever else. This is one project. Let's put our company logo on the side and let's create this one project mentality, and that's how we do that. So it's one project, one team, and I really want to not. I don't even have all the answers and pieces and parts to this yet, but it's something that has strongly resonated with me, and I really want to promote it more and get it out there so other people can build on it as well. Because I think it's what we do, it's what we need to do to really make the impact and keep that theme of the collaborative piece of working together and being we're stronger together than alone. although it's probably easier to work by yourself because you don't have opinions,
Yes.
don't get as much done, right? And you have to recognize that. Like the Lone Ranger doesn't get as much done as with the team. You got to have the
Right.
cavalry. So it's recognizing that that's the best way, and let's prepare ourselves of how we do that in a way that we don't have to hate people, and be discouraged about somebody else's idea, and take our pride and all the things that our egos, and check them really at the door. I know we say that casually, but
Yeah.
really, what does that look like when we do that
Hmm.
in an
Hmm.
effective way, where people say, yeah, this is not about me, it's about us.
Us.
Yeah,
Us. Yeah. Yeah. They say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
correct.
And we got a long way to go, so we need to get there together.
Yeah.
So Henry, back when your sister were chilling and you were out there working on the cars and all that fun stuff, loving it, saying, "Please give me more, Dad." What were your career aspirations back then?
Man, I think at one point, I wanted to be a doctor. I'm not sure where that came from. It was kind of a short-lived thing. I never was like afraid of blood or anything, and I think, because I've seen my own quite a bit as a little boy growing up,
Yeah.
falling on stuff, getting stitches. I think there was a part of me that wanted that. Then I really became focused on being an engineer,
Mm,
and I was going to go to school to be an engineer, a mechanical engineer, and so those were the things. I was always good with my hands. I thought I could kind of tie that into it, but then my dad would just check in every once in a while and say, "Hey, you should think about getting into trade." And I never even thought about as an option really.
right.
And when I was going to college, and I started in junior college, and I was going to college for a year, and he kept bugging me to just take the test. So his message was like, take the test, wasn't take the test or else. It was take the test. What could it hurt?
Mm,
So it was kind of like, well, how do I argue with that? You're right. Just taking the test doesn't affect anything. So I took the test and obviously passed the test. And then I had to make a life decision like within a week. Keep
oh,
going to school, working at your day job, and doing that commute thing, or you need to get into trade. Like, you got a week. You need to go, and there's an opening for you, and it happens like now. So
Joe!
I had to figure out that like quickly, and so obviously I went down the path of quitting my job in school, and getting into the trade, and but I never thought that was going to be my career path. I'm not
Mm,
sure why it never really came to light like that. Like, it was like I had this aspiration to be a sheet metal worker or go into construction, even though my dad did it right around me every day. It's what provided for our family. But I'm glad he had to talk with me, because I wasn't gonna do that for sure.
yeah, no, that's an important story because it's real, right? It's your story, and you're probably not the only person that experienced it. My dad was a plumber. I got a summer job right out of high school to save up money to pay for room and board. And when I ended up on the job site, I was like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing ever!" Like, forget that school thing because I didn't like school. I mean, I could do it, but I had to like sit down and behave, and I didn't like that. And being on the job site, like I could go work and I could cuss. And back then, I used to smoke Marlboro Reds, and so I could smoke, and like it
Yeah.
was amazing. But I didn't recognize it as a career path because that wasn't part of the menu back then. And now there's more and more people like our friend Steve Turner. He's an ultra marathon runner. He owns an upholstery business in New Hampshire. He runs Bring Back the Trades, and that's the whole thing is how do we get out there and inform people like that. The easy part, maybe it's not so easy, but how do we help people become aware of another option in terms of a career path? Because I mean, even you're saying like, man, I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
Even being brought up in that space, same thing, right? I didn't want to do it either because I remember Dad. He was always, he always had primer and glue on his hands, or worked a lot of hours. And then, but when I actually did it, then it was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the esteem of the profile of what a construction worker looked like was not necessarily like, oh, I want to be that person, right? You aspire, you see the doctors and the lawyers and all these other careers that you thought were cool, and that's what you were taught as a kid. So there's like, that's what you do, or that's what you aspire to. But if you can't do that, you can always go into construction, right? So it's kind of like this afterthought. It wasn't for supposedly the smart kid. It was for the person that couldn't go to school or didn't want to go to school. And so it had this, didn't have an allure to it. It was more like the second guess thing, and you didn't have parents promoting it. And I think that's what we do now, and how we raise the awareness, because we're playing catch up when it comes to getting the construction industry, the filling the voids that we have now, the labor shortages. It's really one, I think the parents have to be educated as much as the kids in the schools, in regards to, you need to make this an option for your children, and not as an option, well, for the person that just isn't smart. But it's really raising the awareness and the esteem and the profile of what I call a construction professional.
Yes, sir.
That's what we do, and the amount of money that runs through our hands and we're responsible for in a career is millions and more for some, depending on the size projects that you're going to be a part of in your career. So you're definitely a professional. You're definitely an expert, and you definitely have a talent and a skill that doesn't just show up because you decide you want to do it. It's the work that you've put behind that for years, and you have a craft that and a skill that is sought after, and tie in all the things we're trying to create and help people become more exposed to as the people side of this business. All those moving parts of how do we build a building, and do these things and work with all these teams and have all this material show up and get it installed in a timely fashion and safely. And like, you have to manage that. That is not someone you just pull off the street and say, hey, do you want to do this? No, it's work, tenacity, skill set, education, knowledge, smarts, and being a professional. So there's not like, this is not the easy street. And it's an amazing career, as you know, and an opportunity for someone that's excited, if that's what they want to do. There's no way you walk away feeling like, well, I wish I would have been a doctor, or I wish I would have been a lawyer. It's no, you are a construction professional contributing to society in this way, building great structures and this dynamic industry. Like, how cool is it to be a part of that? Like, there's nothing we can dismiss about our industry and say what stands in a comparison to some other business. No, we are here, and we move things, and we are here to create and use our professionalism and skill sets to do this dynamic work, and that's cool stuff.
It's big, I mean, 100%, Henry. When I started the trust, like, oh, this is cool. When I look back and all the damn things that I had to learn and really break my thinking, like learn how to connect with people, learn how to listen to people. I'm still trying to learn that. Learn how to serve people and guide them into their own self-discovery and out of their comfort zones. Yeah. Like all of that, I don't think people think of that when they think of a construction worker, but you're dead right. We are construction professionals. And one, I'm grateful to you and I applaud you for being a phenomenal representative of the construction professionals out there. The image to the youth out there and to the parents and to the educators to be able to see and hear your story and understand that what you've contributed and what you continue to contribute is going to change minds. So thank you for being you, Henry. It's a big deal.
Thank you. I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Yes. So now we're going to get into the uncomfortable spot of the conversation, which is, you've been at it 34 years. You've got years and years of experience. I'm sure you've tried many things that maybe didn't work out or turned into like really dumb, goofy ideas. I mean, that's my story for sure. So I'm wondering, for the L&M family out there, what is a significant learning that you've had that was the result of a painful misstep?
Yeah. I have a lot, but one that stands out the most for me, because it was a daunting day at Southland for me.
All right, y'all. We got a bit of a change here. Yes, I'm breaking up the flow, and that's not going to change. It's going to stay the same. But the L&M family has spoken out, and we've heard you loud and clear. What we are doing is the backstage passes, these clips that you're not going to be able to listen to on this audio version, are now going to be available to everybody on our YouTube channel. So hit up our YouTube channel, subscribe, follow, like, hit all the buttons, and give yourself a little bit of a learnings and missteps marathon and catch up on all the outtakes. We want to hear your comments, and we want to know what you're learning from these things, because all of our guests have shared some pretty intimate missteps and have had some pretty profound learnings. And we hope that you can take that and apply that going forward, and even teach it to your people, the people you care about. So that is going to be the deal going forward. Thank you for supporting us, and back to the show.
The extra stuff, it's a lesson learned, and you continue to learn and grow and develop, and you get it right sometimes, and others you still miss it, but you still take responsibility. It's still like recognizing, okay, yeah, this is me. This is me, and you own that, and this is one of the hardest things to do, But it's when you practice at it and you do it, you just recognize that this is what I do, this is my responsibility. No one else should have to own this. It's me, and that's really important. And again, it's not a comfortable place to be, but it's respected too when you do it, and people see that. And if you want to exemplify the qualities that you want others to practice, then you have to show them how that's done. And in our industry, again, that's not something that we do very well. We can pass that buck, and you had no idea you were being thrown under the bus and ran over 10 times. You had no idea until one day they're handing you a check. You're like, what happened? What did I do?
What did I do?
You were the scapegoat, buddy. You're just figuring it out right now.
You're the last to find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, big point, right? Ownership. When we take ownership of our contribution, because we play a role in all the success and failure that we experience. And when we take ownership of our part of that, all of a sudden we got power to change it. We have power to influence it. But if you don't take ownership, you end up washing your hands with other people's careers, and that's not leadership.
That is leadership, right?
That's horrible. So I heard a rumor that you're working on a book, Henry. Is that true?
That is true. This is a 10-year mission. And it's not even a long book, really. It's purposely not a long book because of the focus. But yeah, I have again, part of a passion. One of the things that I've been able to do with Southland for like about 12 years is go into pre-apprenticeship programs, and primarily it was about different job goals we've had, and getting resident hiring, and getting the diverse applicants involved in the industry. And how do we do that? So we had a job that had these mandates and stipulations. And so at that time it was, okay, we got to do this because we're supposed to. Then the job got put on hold. And then my construction manager said, let's keep doing this because this is just the right thing to do for us. And so it opened the door for me to get partnering with some local nonprofit organizations in the different cities we work on, and with particularly in San Francisco, there's an organization called City Build that brings in applicants, maybe 100 at a time, and maybe 40 are selected to go through this program for 18 weeks, and they get exposed to all these different industries. Different companies partner with them to do workshops, whether it's flooring or welding or piping, plumbing, sheet metal, all those things, electrical work. And so we committed to do this on a quarterly basis. And so we would bring in a team, like a couple of shop people, a couple of field leaders, and we would go up into their classroom and answer questions probably for an hour, maybe longer at times, because they had so many questions. And basically we bring in our leaders and say, let's tell them what the day in the life looks like in your eyes as a superintendent or as a general foreperson. Show them and tell them what you would want them to do if they were hired by you. And so they got to ask all these different questions. And when I would speak, I always found myself talking about these seven things, and to the point where I did it for so long that I would get introduced by their staff. Hey, Henry's going to talk about these seven things, and they kind of align. They're really basic things in my mind. But again, what I've learned that common sense is not common, and you don't always, the things that you've learned in your childhood from your parents, not everyone got that. Not everyone got that class. And you realize that when you're in the field working or in the shops working and you got people who just don't know the basics, and all you can do is get frustrated, fire them, and get somebody else that does the same thing. I mean, I had
Right.
people show up with flip-flops on a construction site,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't know any better. And it's easy to throw that person away. But again, they don't have some of the basics that we think that are just common. So that message was something that I did so much that I decided, you know what, I'm going to write a book about this.
Mm.
And so again, 10 years later, because it should have been done forever ago, it went from like four or five things to seven things. And it's actually officially called Seven Principles Creating Your Success in the Construction Industry. And it's designed to work people who work with folks who are trying to get into this industry and probably come from diverse backgrounds, don't have necessarily an uncle, nephew, or an aunt or somebody who's in the industry that can help them navigate through this industry. They have no one. So they don't know some of the basics and they find themselves starting and stopping. I've had people steal from us that we brought from these programs, right? And like, dude, you had a job, like
Right.
you had a career, you're getting paid weekly, and you decided to steal product from us to make an extra dime. Like, who does that and why, right? But it's a mentality.
Yes.
They just don't see it. So it's taking the time one to educate people to be successful. The basics that we think everyone knows, they don't. So things like of living like a victim for your whole life, right? You got people
Mm.
who come from diverse backgrounds that didn't have certain things, right? So it's easy to be victimized. It's easy to stay in that mentality of, well, I can't do it because. And then you
Yep.
get an audience that will agree with you and rally around that victimization mentality,
Yep. Yep.
right? Yeah, so it's a vicious cycle. So it's really coming to create, and like I say, it's not even a, I would say it's a book, but it's really more of a manual because I know that this audience doesn't want to read a novel about construction. They want something, they want it quick, precise information. So I kind of began with telling my own story
Mm.
about my entry into the trade, about my dad, about work ethic, and then break down these seven things. And so it's hopefully we're at the final stages where I'm going to get it sent out for a few folks to review it and give me some recommendations in the book. And then our goal was to have it by the end of January, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be more like February now. But very excited about it. It's forced me to do like a professional photo head shoot thing
Oh.
and do all this stuff that I would normally not do, right? But it's been really a cool experience. So I've talked to folks like Joe and Keon, who obviously, put
Yeah.
out the other to review it for me. They're all for it. So, you got folks, Jason, who just wrote his book, and so there's got Felipe. So all these different people that we mentioned earlier that are kind of like, taking this whole thing to a different level and contributing to the industry in their own unique giftings and talents, which is really awesome. And so that is my piece, is really working on that group that is trying to get in. They represent this labor pool that can help fill the voids that we need, but we got to help them be successful. And I don't take it lightly that it's easy. So instead of complaining, instead of bitching about why they can't and what they need to do, but not offering any solutions, I want to offer some solutions. I want to help. I want to partner with more of these nonprofit organizations around the country and put this manual in their hand and say, hey, let me come in and help your team be more successful. And by the way, yeah, I've been in the industry too. And by the way, yeah, I know how hard it could be. And yeah, by the way, I wanted to quit at one time. All these things, right? So it's like I'm not
Yeah.
talking about it from the space of theory. I'm talking about it from the space of I've been there, done that, and I know the struggle.
Henry, that is the most powerful thing that I'm starting to recognize is there are some people that speak from theory and speak from something that they studied or watched or heard about. And that's not bad.
Right.
But the people that speak from their experience can offer a whole different level of guidance. And I applaud you for sharing your experience, because you've been out there. You've put that damn duct sealant on and went home with it all over your stuff, all over your hair, you know. And it's those things that people don't know. If they haven't lived it, they don't really know. And you can help advise so many, like, generations to come. Dude, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
The last big question, simple question, right? Nothing too big. What footprint do you intend to leave on the world, Henry?
You know you say that's a little question. That's probably the one for me that took me the most time to really, because I don't want, to throw out some answer. And that's one that it challenges you to really think about what you're doing, because it's really about what you're doing now. And then that opens doors for all these other things. And so I thought about that, like what do I want? What kind of footprint do I want to leave on the world? I think it ties into what I said earlier, and it's really about, well, I'll put it like this. I'll start it with saying, wanting people to recognize that what is possible isn't a possibility without intention, without hard work, without faith, without grit and hope, and all these things that need to align to make that possibility possible. It's great to have an idea and a thought to want to get something done, but it's just a great idea and a thought that will never come into fruition without the work,
Mm.
without the alignment, without the partnerships, without the people that can rally behind you, family, community, colleagues, whatever they may be. But it's wanting people to, showing up in your whole self is a part of that equation, and making things possible. It's easy to look at someone who's been successful and think that it was like a microwave kind of event, and
Yeah.
it was not, right? It was a
Yes.
slow cooking thing outside at 250 degrees that took 8 hours, right? Whatever.
Yep.
It's not a fast thing, and there's work behind it. But in order to really do that, and I think we've all kind of learned that because we've done it wrong more often than we've done it right. But once we figure out how to do it, then we don't want to go back to that old way that we know the end result is hitting a brick wall.
Mm.
So it's helping that small voice, that person that doesn't think they can accomplish it, that can find more ways or excuses why they can't do it than believing that they can. So it's leaving that the impression of wanting you to see that what's in that heart and mind and spirit of yours doesn't just drop in there for no reason. That is a possibility. Now, how do you get there? So you may not have the talent necessarily, you think, you may not have the connections, the people that rally behind you, but you can start with your idea and believe in that. So I want to be that person that motivates and encourages people, and primarily the ones that have been disadvantaged, primarily
Mm-hmm.
the ones that don't have the silver spoon, they don't have the connections, they just have a thought and
Yeah.
they have a belief and they have faith. And so it's I think when I look at all that I've done in my life, not just professional, but in my life, it's always been rallying around the person that didn't have the voice, that didn't necessarily have that arsenal of stuff to
Mm-hmm.
support their effort. And I think that's what I do. That's what I've done. And I think I'll continue to do. So I want to, and that's the impression that I want to leave on people, is that you can do it, right? And I say I'll end it with this. I was me and my son. He's a LeBron fan. We've all been talking about Curry. I'm in the Bay Area, so of course I love the Warriors, and watching Curry hit this shot, and how amazing to get to break this record for 3 pointers. And I was driving with him the other day, and I said, I said, think about that record and how significant it is, the fact that how many games less that he did to get there.
Mm.
I said that was like hard work that no one sees. It wasn't just, oh, he's an amazing guy on the field out there and in the field essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But think about all that he's done to get there. I said that record is going to take a long time for someone to break. I said, but there is a 4-year-old kid somewhere around right now that whose dad or mom is working on those free throws and those shots, right? I said, so that's where it begins. It's someone that believes in enough to put in that kind of work, and but the first piece of that is believing.
Mm-hmm.
I can be that. I can be that man. I can be that woman that can change our industry. That can really transform how we do work every day. It doesn't have to be what it's been because it's been that way. I can create something to transform how this industry does work, how we approach our work. We can be vulnerable, we can be tough, we can be calm, we can still have conflict, but we don't have to kill each other emotionally or physically when we have those kind of issues. We can do it differently and raise the esteem of our industry so people say, you know what, doctor, lawyer, construction professional, that's all in my plethora of ideas. Construction is not on the outside anymore. It's not a part of the conversation at my table when I'm talking to my family. It's what my parents advocate, no, not just these other things. I can go to school for 4 or 5 years as an apprentice and come out with something that creates a career path for me that I enjoy and love. So it's really that whole kind of thing of creating people that just bring our industry to the limelight, but have faith, hope, and tenacity, and know that they can make a difference. And sometimes it comes from the ones that are least likely, like me.
Yeah, yeah, Henry, I'll say that's amazing. You inspire me for whatever that's worth. I know the first time I heard you speak at LCI Congress, like, ooh, it was and that was way before I started like even using, that was back when I just used like Facebook to post dumb stuff. Before I even really kind of got serious on LinkedIn, and being able to see you, and what's significant about what you said was the question about that we asked made you think about what are you doing right now. And so I've been able to see you consistently going down that path, laying down that path, clearing that path, and on with a crazy idea that you believe in.
Yeah.
And I think what I, for our L&M family out there, is you're laying the path of your future right now. Right now. And whatever that idea or hope is, it's like a fart in the wind unless you take action about it. What are you doing about it? And there's amazing people like Henry out there that want to equip people with the resources or insights to actualize their hopes and their dreams. Henry, you're an amazing human being, man. I appreciate you spending so much time with us today.
Jesse, I thank you. And I just appreciate the fact that you, again, you've created this space and have allowed people like myself and Jennifer and Adam and Jason and Felipe and so many more to kind of canvas our ideas and realize how much we're alike and how much we're trying to do in the same light. Again, different perspective, but it's this collage of ideas and thoughts, and you create up this space, which again will help transform our industry because it really, really matters. And we know that this message needs to get out there, and it's part of that transformation happening. So thank you for your leadership and what you've created. I look forward to more of it and being a part of it. So again, I applaud your effort here too.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
Oh man, didn't I tell you that you were going to be motivated and moved in some kind of way? Henry just has a flow about him and a realness and earnestness and purpose in every word that he chooses. And amazing human being. I'm looking forward to getting some selfies with them at LCI Congress in New Orleans. Y'all want to meet some super cool people that are really focused in changing the industry? Come on out to Congress in New Orleans. We're going to have some fun out there. And so now it is time for our shout out from an L&M family member that's given us some feedback. This one comes from the Boom Dizzle, which is a pretty slick name. I wish I knew who that was because that's cool, man. The Boom Dizzle. Here we go. Boom Dizzle says, I love this podcast. The straight talk is authentic, vulnerable, and transparent. We need more of these kinds of discussions. Boom Dizzle, thank you, because yeah, that's what we're here for, to have some real conversation and to be the human beings that we are. We take off the polish and show up as our full selves. That's what we're here for. That's what you guys help us continue to do. Before we go, y'all have been amazing supporters of this effort. We're past 15 months, which is a pretty big mark for any podcast. And it's actually turning into something bigger, and things continue to grow for us. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is take some time and go to LinkedIn or YouTube and follow No BS with Jen and Jess. That's coming out big starting January 8th, Saturday at 8 a.m. You want to be there. You might want to bring some tissues maybe and a notebook, because it gets pretty serious. We talk about real things, my life, her life, and we really want to change the perspective. So we start talking about the human side of things. Henry touched on it, right? Whether we have omitted the human beings, the power behind all things that are happening are people. And Jen and I are going to be talking about these things, talking about reality, and we invite you in to get a glimpse of our lives and contribute and help us all learn and grow together. So be cool, and we'll talk at you next time. Peace. Man, you are one dedicated listener, sticking with us all the way through to the very, very end. Please know that this podcast dies without you, and we invite you to share how the episode is impacting you, along with your thoughts, questions, and suggestions. You've been gracious with your time, so we added social media links in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with us. Be kind to yourself, stay cool, and we'll talk at you next time.